Hey, lovelies! Have you ever heard of mental illness described as a dark tunnel, a dark pit, the big black dog? Basically, any dark black color and something large, lonely, deep. Well, there's a reason for that. And that's because a lot of us who struggle with mental illness feel that way. I know myself, when my mental health is not good, I feel like I have fallen into the deepest, darkest pit. Something else you may have heard is encouragement to look for the light. Because when your mental health feels better, you can find the light. Something I use to help get from the darkness to the light is art. That one in particular was painted in a very dark spot. But that helped. For me, art helps me work through stuff. And that's one of the things that I love about the Wreck-It Journal, that I can interpret the prompts however I want. I can use the book and fill out the prompts whenever I want. So it could just be a fluff thing that I want to do just to do it. Or it could be something that I want to work on to get myself out of a dark spot, to work through a tough time. It can actually be very therapeutic. And that's what I'd like to share with you today, are the Wreck This Journal entries that I filled out that helped me work through something, process something, move in some way from the dark to the light. So I present for you my Wreck This Journal entries that are mental health related in some way or another. I hope you enjoy.
Fill in this page when you are really angry, which I did with words, but not just with words. I find art extremely therapeutic when I'm feeling any big emotion, whether it be anger, sadness, joy even. Anything that's so overwhelming I don't know how to process it, I have trouble explaining it, I turn to art, and that helps me to speak, so to speak. So what I did for this one is my favorite technique of all time, which I have done multiple times within this journal. Corner to corner with all sorts of lines and squiggles and swirls. And then the opposite corner to corner, same thing, all the lines and squiggles and swirls. And then wherever the lines overlap and create shapes, I colored them in. I used marker to color in all the shapes. And then when they were all colored, I dripped alcohol to make all the marker kind of blend and blur and mix together a little bit. When that dried, I then went over and flicked and splattered and sprayed, threw the paint all over the place. And then where I had written some things down, various injustices and things that made me angry and such, if they could still be seen through everything else that had been done, I then took black paint and just kind of splotched it over top to cover up the words so that the emotion stays without the specifics. And then on this side, to counteract that, is a page of good thoughts. This is a collection of words, phrases, lyrics, just anything that makes me feel good, that inspires me, that gives me hope, that kind of thing. So there's things like my favorite from Cinderella, Have Courage and Be Kind, and I Know My Value from Agent Carter. I also have the lyrics from the chorus of Uprising by Muse and Let It Go from Elsa. And there's also quotes from various famous people. I have some quotes from my kids. My son once told me, "Mom, you're as brave as a peanut butter sandwich," and I wanted to remember that. And my daughter once told me, "You're the weirdo I love," and that made me smile too. So these are just things that I can go back and read when I need a little pick-me-up or a little help to get through a difficult time. Document a boring event in detail. I went ahead and changed that, crossed out the boring, and just went ahead and documented an event. This particular event was 3 days, 3 separate Christmas days back in 2017. These were wrapping papers and a tag from Bestie when we had Christmas Day with her. These tags, this and this paper, were from Christmas Day with the in-laws, and then everything else was Christmas Day with the family. I had Star Wars themed paper that year. We all had a different pattern, so we didn't have to bother with tags. And this is from Muddy Buddies, our chocolate covered gummy bears, one of my favorite treats. And that year I had found Muddy Deer, so I commemorated that by keeping the picture from the box. These are scratch tickets that hubby and I traditionally get in our stockings every year. This was from a Jewels in Candle, so basically it was a candle with a hidden ring inside. That was the ring. I like it. I know it's supposed to be like a infinity symbol, but I think it looks more like a superhero's mask. And the scent of that candle was sublime as well. It was called Around the Christmas Tree, and it was a beautiful Christmassy smell. So I really enjoyed that. Treated myself to that year. This one here was from a fizzy. Daughter, son, and I each got different kinds of fizzies in our stocking. I got a unicorn. I believe daughter got a fairy, and son got a dinosaur. Either way, that was a lot of fun. We each fizzled out our little toy together, and that was just a fun little activity to do. That was from a bottle of wine that I enjoyed guilt and shame free. Now, the reason that I wanted to commemorate all of this is because I was fairly fresh out of my abusive family, and I'm still working on reclaiming traditions and aspects of my childhood for myself, without the pain, without the trauma, without the abuse, because as much as I'm trying to leave all of that stuff behind, my childhood did happen. I was still a kid, and I don't want to pretend like it didn't happen, because that would be erasing a part of me, which I'm not comfortable with doing. So this is sort of my celebration of myself, my past, and reclaiming, the things from a not awesome past, and turning them into something that I can be proud of, that I can recall with happiness, and that I feel, happy to pass on to my children and their children. Just because something came out of abuse and trauma and negativity doesn't mean it has to stay there. You can dust the ashes off and make it your own. And that's essentially what I tried to do, and why these particular pages, this spread, is still so important. Glue in a page from a magazine. Circle words you like. These both come from different Blurt Foundation buddy boxes that I've gotten over the years. If you haven't seen unboxings for those, I have them, and I will link them so you can check out those videos. I love the Blurt Foundation. Included in all of their buddy boxes, they have a little miniature Blurt zine. So it's basically that size. This is 2 pages. This one with Iron Man is from the Superhero buddy box, and this one with the monkey is from the Monkey Mind buddy box. And some of the words that I've circled for the superhero are things like be kind, empathy, have courage, have hope, bake cookies, self-care, daring, powerful. Some of the words that I've circled from the Monkey Mind: talk it out, listen, enough, therapeutic, chocolate, caffeine, Sudoku, messy. Words that I both find inspirational, interesting, that I just like the sound of. This page is a sign. What do you want it to say?
I ended up making these pages in November of 2017, right around the time that The Last Jedi was coming into theaters, and people were quite enthusiastically remembering Carrie Fisher. Not that she had been forgotten, but that's pretty much what prompted this page. I was looking for something that I could use to quote both Space Mom and was important for mental health. That's a big part of this book, the fact that it's a challenge to do something outside of my comfort zone, and I find comfort in that. And that's a big part of why I wanted to save this book, as a reminder of all the little wins that I was able to achieve. So that's why I wanted to do a meaningful quote. This is not a direct quote, but it is inspired by a coping technique that was used by Carrie Fisher. She used to use glitter as a way of making things not quite so dark and ugly. Carrie Fisher's therapist used to be able to gauge, before an appointment even started, how things were going for Carrie, based on how much glitter she wore to the appointment. I really kind of like that. What I worked out was, when the world feels dark, throw some glitter on it and make it shine. Which I think sums up and does justice to that idea. And then on the other page, I put on the quote, "Always be yourself unless you can be a unicorn," which on the surface may look like a silly, fluffy quote. I think it's more than that. Unicorns are magical, and it's something that you believe in as a child, to hold on to the magic and the wonder and the innocence that we had as children. And I think if we can hold on to that, if we can hold on to the innocence and the magic of unicorns, of our youth, then ourselves would be even better than we already are. And we're already pretty great to begin with. And there you have it, the pages that mean a lot to me, particularly because they helped me in some way or another with my mental health. Processing, working through, or just escaping from whatever I was feeling at the time, which is one of the wonderful things, as I mentioned, that art can do. Another thing that is pretty awesome is sharing this. So I shared my Wreck This Journal pages, and if you've done any and would like to share, then please tag me on Instagram. I would love to see them, because you know what? When we share, even when we're in the dark, we're not alone.